Environmental problems are a 4D phenomenon, the 3 dimensions of space and also time. It's important that we can monitor and assess how the Earth is changing, how the various parts of the Earth are changing differently. For example, forests might be changing differently than urban areas, than lakes, etc. So using remote sensing to study those problems in a 4D context gives us an unprecedented ability to identify how those things are changing and what we can do to manage the change in the best way that we can. The Remote Sensing and Geospatial Analysis Lab is a group of students, staff, and faculty that are interested in geospatial research that benefits the environment. So we take satellite images, drone imagery, aircraft images, and other data sets and use those to answer questions about the environment and our natural resources. So remote sensing and geospatial tools are important for these kinds of problems because there's no other way to study large areas, such as the entire state of Minnesota all at once, or even the whole world. So remote sensing tools give us the opportunity to look at large areas and to track those areas over time. Forests are very important in Minnesota, so it's important that we have an idea of what's happening in the forests. An example of a project that we've worked on recently is in collaboration with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and the focus of that project is to develop new image-based methods to look at how the forest is changing.
So on the scale of the state of Minnesota, there are so many stands of forest, and they all are scattered around the state, fragmented by different ownerships, and experiencing different challenges, threats from our environment and also from further fragmentation. So having a collaborative partnership in both understanding these resources and then doing something about it. It's too much for even the Minnesota DNR to handle completely alone.
We're working toward measuring and modeling our forests in northern Minnesota, the Superior National Forest, this kind of southern boreal forest, which is one of the forest types of greatest concern for us right now because those boreal trees are disappearing and being replaced with other species. And so developing these techniques to create more accurate forest inventories more rapidly. When we can do those things and we can do them properly, we can react faster to those changes that are happening in the southern boreal forest.
So there's no full extent inventory of forests in Minnesota. So the data sets that we're developing allow us to create sort of a living forest map. It shows how every stand and sometimes every tree within a stand changes over many years.
Prior to this project, the Department of Natural Resources would use manual techniques to create these forest stands, and it was very labor intensive. This allows them to already have some of this info without going into the field, and then hopefully target more important areas that they may need to look at. Rather than having to visit all of them and decide these are important areas, they can narrow down where their field work is going and be more targeted in their efforts.
An organization like the Minnesota DNR needs help by these researchers and staff at the U of M as we move forward in innovating the way we do things. So we can not only cut costs, but also add value, bring more to the table than we ever did before. One example of that is a planning effort that we have in order to get more of this data and keep it coming so that we integrate this data into our day-to-day operations. So this is a really innovative jumping off point for not only us here in the state, but the whole field of forestry.